Hello, Heartful Parent family. It is time for this week's bonus episode of the podcast. These little bonus episodes are my gift to you because, as you've heard me say, inevitably, time and time again, we were never meant to parent alone. And I know that all of us, myself included, have so many questions about parenting. In the work that I do and the many hats that I wear, one of my very favorite things is getting and answering questions from parents and getting to support you, you, on your journey. So each week I'm taking one real question from a listener or a subscriber to my newsletter and I'm diving in. So on that note, here we go with this week's question. All right, friends, welcome back for another bonus question. And our bonus question today comes from a parent who has a kiddo, a young child who it sounds like shows up just a little bit differently in the world. And this parent asks, how do I empower my daughter to stay authentic to herself when I'm not around to help provide a buffer, while she is also staying within societal lines for her age and development? And this parent goes on to sort of describe some of the fun, quirky, kooky behavior that this little girl sometimes engages in, but also comments that she notices sometimes older kids will point or stare or try to, potentially shame her for being who she is. And she doesn't want this little girl's light to go out. And I think, the reason this question really grabbed at me this week is because I think this is a question that really impacts all of us as parents, which is, how do we help our kids discover and be their true, authentic selves and feel confident in who that person is? Because, at the core of it, it's scary, right? Sending these little people or these teenagers out into the world, just hoping that the world accepts them for who they are. So the first thing that I want to say is, whether you have a kiddo who has sort of some fun quirks or different things about them, or they're neurodivergent, or they're the really challenging kid at school, one of the best things that we can all do as parents is rally around those kids and rally around those families and teach our children. If you have a kid who's readily accepted, easily liked, not neurodivergent, is neurotypical and finds it really easy to navigate the world, what we can all do is help those kids accept, embrace, understand, show empathy, be empathetic towards everyone else, right? Who might be moving through the world in a slightly different way. I think that's the biggest answer here. It doesn't help this particular mom with her particular kid. If we think about parenting culturally, and we think about the broad differences that we can all make, I think that's the first place where we tackle this is, all of us saying, I'm going to support my child in supporting your child, right? In accepting, empathizing, embracing your child for whoever they are. And then I think when it comes to our own children, we want to be really thoughtful about the ways that we send messages of unconditional love, that we allow them to be their true, authentic selves at home. And this mom describes all the ways that she and her partner do that for this kiddo. I think we want to learn to laugh with these kids, not at them, but with them, to teach them to embrace all the fun, amazing things that makes them who they are. And we want to convey that whoever they are is okay with us. And if you think about it, if we all get really self-reflective, we all have ways of doing the opposite, right? We tell our kids we love them. We tell our kids we accept them, that we love them unconditionally. We all do things that actually send an opposite message. So first, we want to start with that message of truly embracing, loving, accepting whoever our own child is in all their amazingness and all their frustratingness. We want to embrace that, giving them space. And then as our kids grow, you know, as they move through those preschool years into the elementary years and then beyond, we want to move from a place where we are sort of in ultimate control of who they interact with, really, right? I mean, we can't control who's in their classroom at school, but we certainly have a lot of control in those early years about who comes to our home or whose home we go to, about the way that our family, maybe extended family, interacts with and accepts these kids. And so we want to, in those early years, demonstrate and model to those children that we've got their backs, that we are there for them, and that we're not going to let the people in their lives treat them badly, right? We're going to model for them what it means to stand up and to say something when something's not okay in a loving, empathetic way, especially when we're talking to other children, but we're going to model that. You know, we're not going to let our parents or our brothers and sisters or our aunts and uncles or grandparents or whoever it might be badmouth our kids or send a different message than what we are sending, right? Where we have the ability to say, hey, that's not okay. So we want to start out by having their back. It's another way of showing that we're okay with who they are, but it's also modeling for them how to set boundaries and how to say what is and isn't okay. The next piece of this may feel somewhat like not intuitive, but what we also need to be really thoughtful about is the idea that we are showing up as our authentic selves, right? So if we are fun and goofy and silly and authentic at home, and then we go out into public spaces and we're somebody completely different, our children will start to tap into that lack of authenticity. And so if you want your child to learn how to stay authentic, you have to stay authentic. If we want our kids to learn how to set boundaries, they have to see us set boundaries. And if we don't do that at home and we don't do that out in the world, then our children have no modeling to learn from, which is really one of the key ways that they learn, right? So we want to make sure that we are showing up in an authentic way right alongside them. And then as they grow, and this is so, so hard, we have to recognize that there will be people in the world that might make fun of them or might say something unkind. This is going to happen to every child, right? Might say something unkind, might, you know, not appreciate a quirk of their personality. And it might come from a friend and it might come from somebody further afield. But all of our children are going to have something about them that others don't like or don't accept, and something's going to be said. And so that's where we help our children build resilience. And that resilience is built by helping them learn how to set boundaries, by reaffirming who they are, you know, all the things that I've just talked about. We want to make sure that we are continuing to do, you know, as we help them build those skills for managing that. We want to wrap them up in unconditional love so that whatever unkind comments or, you know, finger pointing or, you know, even bullying, if it goes to the level of bullying, that we are helping them build that resilience. Now, bullying is a separate topic that, like, if it's true bullying, and I will note that we have a tendency to call a lot of things bullying in our culture that aren't actually bullying. They're unkind, but probably don't rise to the full level of bullying. But as a child who was bullied myself as a kid, you know, I think what we do is we wrap our kids up. And my mom did a beautiful job of doing that, of wrapping me up in love and making sure that what was going on in external spaces, she minimized the impact. Did it impact me? Yes, it did. And she moved me out of that environment as soon as she could. But that unconditional love, right? And helping, like I said, helping our kids build some self-regulation skills, some self-care skills, and some boundary setting skills. As they continue to grow, I think the final piece I would add to this is the importance of helping our children recognize healthy and unhealthy relationships, right? So Brene Brown, who, if you're not familiar with Brene Brown's work, you should familiarize yourself with her work because it really is incredible. But she tells the story or talks about how she taught her kids to look for those people in their lives who, if you imagine that everybody's sort of walking through the world with a candle, a lit candle, right? We're adding our light into the world. And what we want to look for in relationships, whether it be friendships, partnerships, right? Spouses, business partners, coworkers, whatever it is, what we want to look for and the people that we want to surround ourselves with are those people who will take their lit candle and hold it together with our lit candle as a way of making a brighter flame. What we don't want are those people who will come along and blow out our candle. Brene Brown calls them candle blower outers. And we all know those candle blower outers, right? Those people who feel the need to get their own energy by trying to steal yours, to build up their own light by taking yours. We all know these people. We've all encountered them. And those are the people, the candle blower outers, that we want to teach our children to avoid and to protect their own flame. And so that, I think, in a nutshell, and we could talk about this for hours, I think in a nutshell, that is how we help our children or empower our children to stay authentic to themselves. And when we teach them to avoid the candle blower outers or teach them to set boundaries with the candle blower outers, and then to choose their inner circle more carefully with the candle lighter uppers, that's how we build authenticity. And we can all help do this if we are all having these conversations with our children. Even if you don't see a child who's struggling, if your child isn't struggling, they're still encountering candle blower outers, right? They are still probably, at least now and then, a candle blower outer themselves. And so if we can teach our kids not to blow out other people's candles, but to join the light together and to protect their own flames, I think that's how we help. And I want to give full credit to Brene Brown for that analogy. I did not come up with that. That's all Brene. But I think it really can be used in this space of helping our children live authentically, even when we're not around to provide that buffer. All right. I hope that's helpful. Happy Friday, everybody. That was just a little snippet for you. Hopefully sparks some ideas for how we can all be helping our children be both the supportive ones and resilient when they are on the receiving end of unkindness. All right, cheers, everybody. I'll see you next week. All right, listeners, thanks so much for coming along with me for this week's bonus episode. If you would like your question answered, drop me an email at Christy@theheartfulparent.com. I'd love to hear from you. You can also go to my website at theheartfulparent.com and sign up for my newsletter, where you receive the inside scoop on everything Heartful Parent, and it's delivered weekly to your inbox. Better yet, if you would like more answers to the parenting questions challenging you, and or you would just like to support my work here at the Heartful Parent, there is no better way to do that than to join the Heartful Parent Academy. Inside the Academy, you get direct access to me, to get all your questions answered at least 3 times a month. And the more members, the more access I will offer. So use coupon code PODCAST to try out your first month for only $7. You can find the join link on my website. I feel so incredibly grateful that you let me into your lives every week and now twice a week. And I'm also so grateful to those who support the work that I'm doing. I truly cannot do this without you. Thanks so much. Cheers, everyone. I will see you next week.